Hello everyone, welcome back to another episode of Elder Scrolls Lore, and I won't lie, this is like the 9th intro I've tried doing. I cannot get an intro down. Before we begin, I'd like to say thank you to Ares for allowing me to use his music. Feel free to join the Discord chat in the link in the description below or in the channel header. And before we start, I'm actually getting a lot closer to getting the 500 subscriber video done, so that is getting closer. And so, kind of doing a little bit of a recap as well on what I'm planning on doing for the next few videos. So we have a few suggestion videos that are going to come out, more than a few actually. So there are suggestions to start covering the Imperial Legions, the different kinds of legions that are out there, the navies of Tamriel, not just specific to any faction, and there's one special one that I'm not going to announce yet, but it's got to get the footage for it, but I am going to be doing that one soon. So that's there's like one topic and 2 concepts I want to do. So with that being said, what the idea here is I'm going to be doing the Imperial Legion, and then I'm going to transition to this into a single specific region. So I'm going to do the Imperial Legion from the Septim Dynasty only, and then do specific regions up to that point. So I'm not going to talk about things from the Legion Empire or the Riemann Empire. This is going to be purely Septim Empire legions and how it's structured and how it's organized. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoy. The Imperial Legion, or the Imperial Army, is a large, massive military force that was founded back during the Second Empire, but was reorganized and restructured into the Third Empire of Cyrodiil. Now, the patron deity of the Imperial Legion is Stendarr, the god of justice and mercy. So, taking inspiration from the real-world ancient Roman military, the Imperial Legion similarly proclaims itself the most disciplined and effective military force in all of history, and it preserves the peace and rule of law of the Empire. It is possible to join the Imperial Legion in both the Elder Scrolls 3 Morrowind and the Elder Scrolls 5 Skyrim, but it is not possible to join them in the Elder Scrolls 4 Oblivion, but it is possible to do tasks for them. There was a lot of possibles there, but with that being said, as I said earlier, we're not going to be covering any of the stuff from the previous dynasties or empires. This is going to be stuff purely from the Septim Dynasty forward. So, after the Alliance War had ended, Tamriel was at relative peace. Tiber Septim, who had been a general of Khula'Kain in the past, became emperor after the death of his lord. The Tiber Wars were the result of Tiber Septim being set on his path to conquer Tamriel by the Greybeards in either 855 or 854 of the Second Era, and it lasted until the transition of the New Era, and basically the first year of the Third Era. So, after Tiber Septim beat the Nord Breton Alliance at Sancre Tor, he had the troops needed to conquer the Heartlands from the Imperial Battle Mages. After Cyrodiil had been unified, Khula'Kain died. Talos was then crowned emperor by Zurin Arctis, his battle mage, and then Septim found the initial administration of a fully united Cyrodiil. This was a time-consuming task. As such, he sent a underking to deal with the imperial expansion into the provinces of High Rock and Skyrim. High Rock was easily conquered by the Empire, and the Bretons were largely welcoming to the new empire. The governor of High Rock, Titus Alorius, put down most rebels in the land and resolved the feuding between kings with the tact and skill. Tact is tactics, so. Which resulted in the empire being seen positively. By 864 of the Second Era, High Rock was solidified by the emperor. I keep saying emperor. I keep wanting to say emperor. I mean empire. Sorry. Skyrim's conquest is largely unknown. What is known is that Hammerfell's conquest made Skyrim's look like a ballet. It is known that the war chiefs of Dawnstar fought against Septim's forces, but they were defeated. After Skyrim was conquered, the Nord kings expected to outlast the Septim Empire just as they had done the previous ones. Blackmarsh was the third nation to be invaded and conquered by Tiber Septim. Combat between the legions and Argonians were recorded in 861 of the Second Era. Septim invaded the coastlines of Blackmarsh but avoided the unimportant inner swamps. Most of Blackmarsh eventually joined through a treaty. Hammerfell was the next nation to fall to Talos' conquest. The High King of Hammerfell, Thasad II, feared imperial invasion. In order to prevent the Empire from invading Hammerfell, he signed a pact with the Forebears to ensure unity. And after the death of Thasad, the pact turned void, and as a result, the Crowns and Forebears both tried to fight for ownership of the region. Now, I've covered this a little bit more in both my Crowns and Forebears video, so if you want to check more on that, feel free to check that out. But basically, there will be the Treaty of Stros-Makai, and eventually Hammerfell will be annexed into the Empire rather than conquered, so it was a better image for the Empire of sorts. So, with Morrowind surrounded by the Imperial territory, Septim decided to launch an invasion of Morrowind. The legions assembled at the border between Cyrodiil and Morrowind, and the invasion fleets prepared in Skyrim. The Dunmer were not united in their ideas of how to act. The Telvanni wanted to remain neutral, the Hlaalu proposed accommodation, while Dress, Redoran, and Indoril wanted to fight to the death. Now, small border skirmishes took place between the legions and the Dunmer in Blackmarsh, but swampy terrain did not suit either for warfare. To combat the legions near Blacklight, Krakenmoor, Cormar View, and Silgrad Tower, the Dunmer only had small militias aided by Redoran mercenaries and the House nobles, alongside Buyant Armigers and Ordinators. I don't know why I had such trouble saying that. Ordinators. This became even more troubling for the Dunmer only when Redoran wanted to defend the western border, as Indoril and Dress wanted to wage a guerrilla warfare against the Empire. One of the battles that took place during these wars was the Battle of Mournhold, which laid waste to the city. When Vivec himself appeared to announce that Morrowind would join the Empire under gracious circumstances to his native people, he was met with an awkward silence. The Dress and Indoril were still against the Empire, wanted to fight to the death, while Redoran, who now had an excuse to not lose most of their territory, joined the side of House Hlaalu in supporting the accommodation. The Telvanni, seeing which way the wind was blowing, they joined Hlaalu and the Redoran, and many of the Indoril, after being forced to join into the Empire, would commit suicide, resulting in the Hlaalu gaining a lot of power in Morrowind. So the next province to either fall, we don't really know. It was either Ellisware or Valenwood. Ellisware had a pact with the Second Aldmeri Dominion, a military alliance. The city of Senchal was raided by the 3rd Legion after the city had refused to surrender, but when the province exactly fell, we do not know. Valenwood had joined the Aldmeri Dominion as a result of the Thalmor gaining power in Valenwood with the support of the Camoran and Amexis. With the Third Empire starting to take shape, the Dominion tried to tighten its grip on the region. However, the Bosmer tribes fought against the Clovian forces along the Strid River until the Empire became unified. Both sides then made their camp on their borders, both waiting for the decisive battle. When the Dominion tried to fight the Empire's forces, they lost a great many times, with the Clovians calling them the Aldmeri Dominion as a reference to their weak offense the Dominion offered on the battlefield. Contrary to the land battles at sea, the Aldmeri Navy crushed the Imperial Navy and ruled the seas from the Cape of the Blue Divide until the Topal Bay. Both Valenwood and the Somerset Isles would fall to Tiber Septim when he used the Numidium to conquer the remaining provinces of Tamriel. So the Legion fought in several wars along the conflicts in the Third Era. Among them were the War of the Red Diamond, and also fought in the conflict of the Camoran Usurper. Now we have a video of the War of the Red Diamond, so I'm not going to cover it too much here, but basically it's going to be involving Potema Septim and her rise throughout Skyrim, and basically a civil war. So, in 270 of the Third Era, Uriel Septim V created plans of conquering Akavir. Shortly after these plans were made, the Emperor would begin his conquest of small island kingdoms between Tamriel and Akavir. The first island to be conquered was Rose Cree, which was claimed in 271 of the Third Era, followed by Cathnoque in 276 of the Third Era, Yensley in 279 of the Third Era, and Esroniet in 284 of the Third Era. Esroniet itself was not conquered in one go. Black Harbor, a port of the island, was conquered in 282 and immediately renovated for the Empire's invasion plans at the same time. He ordered the building of the ships that would carry his legions over to Akavir. When Prince Bashoman of Esroniet yielded the island to the Emperor in 284, the Emperor's full attention was now focused on the invasion of the new continent. In 285 and 286 of the Second Era, ships were sent out to Akavir to scout the lands, with the Blades on board to find information about it. The Tsaetski, whose kingdom lies in the southwest of Akavir, was based on the scouting forces, chosen for the initial landing of the Emperor's army. At the same time, the Emperor was gathering his legions and navy, which was called the Expeditionary Force. A new Far East fleet created for the invasion, which dwarfed the rest of the Imperial Navy. Four legions, the 5th, the 4 legions, the 7th, the 10th, and the 14th were chosen to be on the initial landing, with the 9th and 17th being chosen as reinforcements when the coastline was conquered. The reasoning for this decision was the idea that there would be little resistance, supply lines would be difficult to manage, and most importantly, the fleet could only transport 4 legions at once. The invasion itself started in 23 of Rain's Hand, 288 of the Second Era, and basically I didn't cover it too much, and I'm not going to cover it too much here because I might do it for a future video, because Uriel Septim the 5th is actually pretty interesting. But basically Uriel Septim the 5th would be killed and the legions would be virtually decimated. Now there are the 2 legions of Vardenfell that we're not going to discuss because that is going to be for 2 separate videos, or maybe 1 depending how large the script gets. So there's those, and there's also the legions that fought in the Oblivion Crisis. Now, I would go further into it like I have sort of in the past. I've been kind of doing the history of the legions at this point, but at this point, if I go into the history anymore, I'm going to reveal too much about the legions, and I just want to keep this more vague, a vague video of the Imperial Legion itself. So later on, they have the Great War, and eventually they will even go on to have civil war in Skyrim, as we do know. And like I said, I'm not going to go too much into this because that is going to be a rough history. I kind of went further and more elaborate in the Third Era, the beginnings, because I've already covered them in the Tiber Wars. So in a sense, I'm just trying to make this a bit easier, and I'm going to cover each legion by itself, so I'm not going to go too much. And by the way, there wasn't a lot about a legion itself specifically when it came down to the original. When it came down to the Tiber Wars. Sorry, I feel like getting flustered over myself. Now intended as the sole militaristic force behind Cyrodiil's seat of power, the Legion operates in conjunction with the Imperial City's police force, the Imperial Watch. Their headquarters are situated in the Imperial City. Their duties of a Legionnaire are first to the Empire and then to their commanding officers. Legionaries are expected to behave with dignity and uphold the law as they face the Empire, as they are the face of the Empire. Theft and assault are considered treason among the Legion and are resulted in Legionnaire having to speak to their recruiting officer regarding their status. If a Legionnaire accuses a superior of murder without sufficient evidence, the recruiting officer has the right to press charges of insubordination. If evidence is presented, the recruiting officer provides it to his superiors in Cyrodiil. The Legion is the primary fighting force of the Cyrodiilic empires. Cyrodiilic cities and towns most often have city guards, while Nordic cities and towns have hold guards, which are Legion soldiers serving the counties, and holds for the police duties and law enforcement in the Imperial provinces, not bad. Now soldiers are on patrol on the roads in the Imperial provinces, protect nobles, collect taxes, and are allowed to seize property of arrested criminals. Under normal circumstances, the Imperial City has at least 1 legion stationed within it, contrary to Rome, which never was allowed to have any soldiers behind the Rubicon River. Now, the Legion looks for upstanding citizens who show a superior endurance, soldierly virtue, and a trustworthy personality. A Legion soldier is supposed to be a model of the duties of Imperial citizenship. To be able to join the Legion, each soldier must be trained and become proficient in the skills of a long blade, spear, blunt weapon, block with the shield, aka shield there, and heavy armor, which is contrary to any Elder Scrolls V. I haven't played all the way through Morrowind yet to join the Legion, but in Elder Scrolls V you do not have to do that. Imperial soldiers must be able to block quickly and move quickly while in their heavy armor. Soldiers are trained to be able to march long distances and carry heavy packs, and be able to perform complex maneuvers that soldiers will be expected to perform in a real battle. Furthermore, knights are trained to be able to block blows with their heavy armor, no shields. Now, every soldier also must take an oath. So with this oath, they swear that they are going to have undying loyalty to the Emperor, have obedience to the Empire and the officers, and will always do their duty and not fail at their job. Now, the organization of the Empire, it kind of varies between game to game, but we're going to go with Skyrim's just because that is the most recent of the games. So basically, there are auxiliaries, there are privates according to Captain Aldous, there are quaestors, prefects, tribunes, commanders, legates, captains, and then generals. Now, one thing we do know is there are centurions, but centurions are a rank that we aren't we don't really see, and it's just because that Centurions are in charge of the palace guards in the Imperial City, and they also command Imperial cohorts of a legion. So we don't really see those. We don't see lieutenants either. Lieutenants are tasked with commanding large groups of soldiers, and they answer to the captains, so we don't see them either. But that being said, we have the palace guards, and they kind of act as like a Praetorian Guard of sorts, kind of like the Praetorian Guard of Rome. That's why the example there. Now there are light armor and heavy armor, but heavy armor is going to be what most are expected to be trained in. However, ironically, light armor is what's handed out the most, which is kind of weird in my opinion. Now, with that being said, there are divisions all over and there are bases all over. Now, I would go further into it, but we're going to cover those in a later video. And with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed the broad overview of the Imperial Legions. Like I said, I was just going to go further into it the more I get into it. So in the future, I plan on covering just each specific legion up into a point. And if the legions are connected, like say 2 legions are very similar in their duties, I'm going to keep them in one video. Now, if there are legions that don't have any significant value, like they don't do much, they don't have a big history, I'm also going to kind of null those legions, and I'll mention them in a previous video. So I'll just go, hey, this is what happened to, like, say the 9th Legion, or I don't know, just pull the number out my ass there. So it's not a specific legion that I'm pointing out had nothing, no history to it. I don't know if that's true, but I'm just using that as an example. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed this video. It's a relatively longer video today, and with that being said, I did not expect it to be that long too. So with that being said, I hope you guys enjoyed, and I will see you guys in the next video. I'm sorry if you can hear coughing in the background. I don't know why my roommate's coughing so much. So if you guys have any suggestions, please let me know in the comments below. As always, please like and subscribe. If you want, comments or suggestions are easier when they're in Discord chat. But with that being said, I will see you guys in the next video. Peace.